not you guys like start by letting us know who you are and what you do?
Sure. Okay, I'll go first. So I run various communities and ecosystems here in the region and focus on change as a whole on a local and global level, as well as the individual. And we run together the Change School, which is a multidimensional retreat for individuals in transition at different stages of their life cycle. So in particular, we focus on 5 life stages: career, graduation, career, family, empty nesters, and then retirement. And from there, different trajectories that they can go on, and we create programs based on that. And they are not bound by space, but more by experience, and cover 6 streams, which is education, entrepreneurship, social innovation, adventure, health and wellness,
culture and creativity,
and then life skills and emotional intelligence.
Cool. So you guys like run the retreat together?
Yeah. But we also do our own individual work in parallel to that, which is consulting and a variety of other things. Yeah.
So I'm Salonia, and I run my own consultancy which focuses on social innovation and social impact projects. I also run a roaming fundraiser here, which focuses on bringing together expat and local communities to give back to society at large. And the Change School.
So how did you guys meet?
We've known each other since we were like really small. We're third culture kids, and we grew up here. And then we moved back about 4 years ago.
More.
Well, we just happened to move back at the same time, pretty much. Yeah.
So, what made you guys want to start this workshop together?
So we're kind of going down parallel tracks, and we'd worked on different projects together, and then decided after we ran one program last year that it could be turned into something bigger, and it was just a matter of timing, I think, for us to come together.
Yeah, and I guess both of us were kind of along our parallel tracks, kind of at different transitional points in our own lives, and I think that also gave us a lot of reason to try and help people who are in that position as well, and build opportunities around it.
Yeah, so a lot of our work was already focused on like human-centered design, and creating, whether it's the communities that we built, or the projects or workshops that we did and collaborated on, that we sort of thought it was like the next big step. We always wanted to come and work together, we just didn't know how.
Y'all mentioned that y'all were on like parallel trajectories and you're at like that point in your lives, and you guys want to help people because of that.
Yeah.
You guys mind like sharing a little bit on that experience?
You want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So when I first moved back a few years ago, I joined Burson Marsteller, which is a big PR agency, and it was really during that time I was focused on the CSR and corporate comms practices, and I learned a lot. It was a really great experience, but at the same time I think I just very quickly felt that it wasn't enough for me, and where I was at that stage in my life, I needed more meaning, I needed more purpose, I needed to feel a more personal alignment with the work I was doing every day, 9 to 5, repeatedly. So that kind of triggered a whole slew of events and a whole new journey, and going through that whole process and connecting with people who are in a similar situation kind of really inspired me to explore that further and to see what's out there to help other people in that situation. And when you're able to relate to it, I think it's a very different, you come from a different space, right? You come from a place of insight and a lot of empathy. Yeah. Yeah,
so mine was a little different. had always known I wanted to do something more, but didn't know what. And then I set up, I worked for a company in Australia for 5 years in the fashion industry, and then took a year off as a hiatus and to like refine myself in New York, which probably was not the best thing. But then I set up an agency here, which was focused on Australian businesses coming into the region. And a lot of that was initially focused on, bridging the gap and really trying to connect a little bit more across the region, but also across East and West. So being a mixed kid, I think that was a very big thing for me, but also growing up here. And then when my father passed away about 3 years ago, I realized, okay, now is the time to do something that you're like purpose-driven, passion-driven, but has impact. And I didn't really know where to do it or what to do. So I took a month off and did my own little mini change school thing, and couldn't find the space for what I really wanted, and so I just took in all the tools and resources that I could find out there and figure out what I wanted to do. But one of the main things was definitely coming back to Singapore after being away for so long. There was a gap, and that gap was really in creative sector, entrepreneurial, and then within the social innovation space, and there weren't any communities focused on that were also connecting. So there were a lot of silos, but no one was really collaborating or working together locally, but then also regionally. We're so close to the rest of the region, so that's when I started bringing in communities such as Creative Mornings, and then setting up our own secret women's community for women entrepreneurs. That's I guess everything we do which is why now the Change School is also focused on that, is how do you align as an individual, purpose and passion for impact within yourself, but then impact within the community, and then impact on a global level as we develop more global citizens.
Okay, interesting.
What actually caused you to first think about being an entrepreneur or change agent? What is the motivation? Or what could have inspired you to start you on this journey?
I mean, I think we've always been, what I think is we've always had that within us, right? It's just when you get it triggered, and being able to take the risk and be comfortable with it, right? Which is building confidence as well. But I would say my trigger point was definitely when my father passed away, because I was like, you only live once, right? If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? And if all else fails, I can go back and get a corporate job if I really want,
So it's a nothing to lose mentality in a way.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and same for me, I guess, just in a different, through different experience. It was, like I said, wanting to find more purpose, and it was the same. I knew that I wanted to do something good. I wanted to do more, and you kind of get pushed to a point, right, when you stay in a norm or whatever, when you don't change things. You kind of have a point at which it's like enough is enough, right? Or something's got to give, or I need to design the life I want. And so I think one of the triggers was just being pushed to that point. And then second was having a lot of support and encouragement. I guess, for me, so I'm half Chinese, so the sort of Asian side of my family, of course, has more traditional approaches to how you carve out a career. And so for me, I really couldn't make that jump until I had the green light from my mom, my dad, my husband, my family. But having that, and then connecting with a really supportive community, which came when I joined the Hub, or just started talking to more people. At first it was kind of like I was in my home office and doing research, and that gets really lonely and demoralizing at a point, right? So when you kind of get out there and you do the coffee meetings and you talk to other people and you hear their frustrations and you see that it's not just you, then it helps you move. So I think those were kind of the three main things for me.
You mentioned just now that you identified like gaps in Asia for the space of social innovation and change. And do you think that has changed like now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, it's 2 years ago that we started bringing everything in, right? Creative Mornings, Secret Women's, She Says, all these other ones. And it's changed drastically in the last 2 years. And there's more communities out there. There's also the hub. There's more co-working spaces where before there were none. So I think like there's two different types, right? Like even taking Salonia aside, it's more if there were no like-minded communities, then we wouldn't be where we are today. If I didn't create communities, we wouldn't be where we are today, right? So it's that sort of thing of someone needed to start it, and if the hub didn't come, we wouldn't have that physical space. We can have all the meetups that we need, but how do you like create an environment that allows it to breathe further? Because communities are only once off every meeting, whereas like a space allows for an interaction and integration on another level. So it's definitely changed. Like I think the awareness of social entrepreneurship now has grown, but I also think the term in itself should not necessarily exist, because it should be that we all are social entrepreneurs. You know, it's the same thing with sustainability. It should be part and parcel of who we are, rather than it be a silo. So that's where we try and say changepreneurs more so versus social entrepreneurs, because the definition in itself is varied from Skull to Ashoka to whoever you talk to, but it should really be just doing good for yourself and the community in general.
So that's how you define the term changepreneur.
Yeah.
Okay.